Hello sisters in front of the screen. I am Faye. Can you believe this? Back then, the male lead watched the female lead fall off a cliff for his white moonlight. But after the female lead died, he started putting on this deeply in love act and even went around looking for substitutes. What is even more crazy is that our female lead was directly reborn in the body of a girl who looked 50% like her. The white moonlight of Shaolin and I were captured by criminals who forced him to choose one of us. He chose the white moonlight pregnant. I fell off the cliff, disappearing together with my unborn hope. After I died, Shaolin finally realized I was the one he loved. And so, I became the white moonlight he cherished day and night. No one knew that I was reborn in the body of an herb-gathering girl who looked 50% like me. 5 years after my rebirth, I was offered to Shaolin to be a substitute for the me who had already died. The day I entered Shaolin's residence was already the 5th year since my rebirth in Huasen's body. The matron who brought us into the residence was lecturing us. I know you were all sent from outside to curry favor with our prince. But our prince has never been close to women. You'd better put away those improper thoughts of yours. Normally you'll stay in the Kunfeng court and can't go out without permission. Just at this moment, Shaolin returned to the residence after court. Seeing a large group of people upon entering, he frowned, his voice cold and deep. Where is Steward Li? Didn't I say not to accept anyone into the residence? Steward Li came running from the corridor, wearing a wry smile on his face. My lord, you don't understand. Those people outside are extremely difficult to turn away. If we don't accept the servants they send today, tomorrow, they'll send gold, silver, and jade objects. And the day after that, rare treasures. It is better to accept something so they'll stay quiet for a while. Steward Li was a loyal servant who had been by Shaolin's side since childhood. Shaolin didn't blame him, only saying, I'll give you 15 minutes, send them back to wherever they came from. Steward Li let out a sigh, pointing at us group of girls who were so frightened. We kept our heads down pretending to be quails. He was about to speak the words of dismissal. Just at that moment, a butterfly came fluttering unsteadily toward me. I pretended to be startled and fell sitting on the ground, crying out in alarm. Ah, there is a butterfly! Shaolin, who had already turned to walk inside, turned back at the sound. I was looking up apologizing to Steward Li. This commoner girl is truly frightened of butterflies. I was rude, and hope the steward won't take offense. Shaolin saw my face clearly. He almost lost his composure, striding forward quickly, pulling me up from the ground, and sweeping me into his arms. The icy expression on his face crumbled away, and I heard him ask me in a trembling voice, carefully, Wanwan, is it you who has come back? I stiffened and drew back slightly from Shaolin's embrace, putting on a flattered expression as I bowed and said, This commoner Huasen greets your highness. Steward Li looked at Shaolin, then at me, and sighed softly. Good heavens, whoever found this one, looks way too similar. I knew what he meant by that. My appearance resembled Shaolin's deceased late princess consort. The person who sent me into the prince's manor had also instructed me. Your face looks exactly like the regent prince's deeply beloved late wife. If you can use this to win the prince's favor, endless wealth and glory await you. The easiest thing in this world is probably imitating yourself. I lowered my eyes, concealing the icy hatred within them. Shaolin realized he had mistaken me for someone else. His expression shifted instantly from dazed to stern. He pushed me out of his embrace, yet his hand gripped my chin as his oppressively intense gaze scrutinized my face, forced upward over and over. Then he reached out, using his warm fingertips to slowly wipe away the deliberately elongated corners of my eyes. You stay, send the rest away. The first half was directed at me, the second half at Steward Li. After saying this, he withdrew his gaze from my face and turned to leave. The matron who had just given the lecture left the manor with the other girls. Steward Li personally led me toward the inner courtyard. Miss, you'll be staying at this green bamboo court from now on. In a moment, 2 maidservants will come to attend to you. Before he could finish speaking, a maidservant with an unfriendly expression came running from outside. Steward Li, madam, you heard that the prince has taken in a beauty and asks you to bring her over for a look. The smile on Steward Li's face dropped, and he said with some displeasure, This is a beauty newly taken in by our prince, not a servant who can be ordered around at will. If Madame Yu wishes to meet her, she is more than welcome to come visit in person bearing gifts." That maid's contemptuous gaze fell upon me as she said indignantly, "Just her. She is worthy of our madam visiting with gifts." Steward Li's face turned cold. "Lel Fei Yao, Miss Hua entered the manor with the prince's approval, so she is your and my master. If Madame Yu hasn't taught you the proper etiquette for serving your master, I don't mind personally teaching you myself." The maid called El Fei Yao let out a hempesh, but in the end was still afraid of angering Steward Li, leaving behind the words, "I'm going back to tell our madam," before running off. Steward Li let out a light rebuke at El Fei Yao's retreating figure. What airs, she hasn't even become the princess consort yet, and already wants to put on the airs of the lady of the manor. After finishing her scolding, Steward Li seemed to suddenly remember I was beside her, quickly covering her mouth and giving me an embarrassed smile. "Ah, I was just about to remind you, don't go to that Tingfeng court on the east side unless necessary. It is quite inauspicious. That girl serves at Tingfeng court." After Steward Li left, the two maids he assigned to me arrived shortly after. Along with them came a woman dressed in white. That woman, supported by Lel Fei Yao, stopped in front of my door, smiling gently with a soft tone. "I heard the prince took in a beauty. She truly is as beautiful as flowers in the moon. Would younger sister be willing to invite me in to sit for a while?" Su Yingyu. Finally, I see again that face I've hated to the bone in my midnight dreams. Hatred surged in my heart, and I couldn't help but quietly clench my fists. I never expected that 5 years after she schemed and framed me, she still hasn't gotten her wish to become Shaolin's princess consort. These past years, rumors of Shaolin erecting statues and praying for blessings all over the world for me, the late princess consort, have spread among the people. Everyone says the Prince Regent's love for the late princess consort runs deep. But Su Yingyu, on the other hand, was merely given the title of Lady Yu, living awkwardly in this residence. Shaolin used to always act in front of me like he couldn't let go of his old feelings for her. Now it seems, his feelings for her are nothing more than that. The last time I faced Su Yingyu like this, I was still Shaolin's legitimate wife, Lin Xingwen, the eldest daughter of the Lin family. Back then, she and I were both forced to a cliff's edge by villains, yet she smiled with complete certainty. She asked me, "Tell me, if a Lin had to choose one of us to leave safely, would he choose me or you?" As soon as she said this, I guessed that this whole scenario was arranged by her. She relied on her childhood bond with Shaolin to seduce him into showering her with care and attention. I was jealous, and sought to make things difficult for her everywhere. And Shaolin, to protect her, publicly reprimanded me more than once for being jealous and willful. Su Yingyu had also mocked me in private. If it weren't for the fact that he and I were separated for many years, and I married someone else, do you think you'd have a place by his side? When Shaolin turned a cold shoulder to me again and again to protect her, I saw through it all. In Shaolin's heart, she weighed more than I did. But when the villain truly pressed us with a blade, forcing Shaolin to choose one of the two, I still harbored a delusion. I didn't want to leave like this. I had just found out I was pregnant. I hadn't had the chance to tell Shaolin yet that after 5 years of marriage, we were finally going to have a child. But with my mouth covered, I could only shed tears and cry out to Shaolin in muffled sobs. Yet he ignored my pain and tears, resolutely pointed his hand at Su Yingyu, and said without hesitation, "I choose her." So I was pushed off the cliff by the villain, falling into the abyss together with my unborn child. Fortunately, heaven took pity on me and let me be reborn in this body of Huasen. The young girl was forced by her brother and sister-in-law to go up the mountain to gather medicinal herbs to sell for money, and ended up falling. It must have been exactly the same time as when I left the world, so my disembodied soul took over this masterless shell of hers. 5 years have passed. The debt Su Yingyu and Shaolin owe me, I've come to collect it myself. Snapping out of my memories, I looked at Su Yingyu standing before me, still waiting for my response, and smiled shyly with pursed lips. "I'm afraid it is not convenient to receive you today, sister. Before Manager Li left, he told me to prepare myself. The prince will be coming to my place tonight." The fake gentle mask on Su Yingyu's face could no longer be maintained. Her gaze circled around my face, then she suddenly let out a scoffing laugh and mocked with a changed expression. Back then, even the original could only weep and admit defeat before me. You're nothing but a somewhat similar counterfeit. How dare you? I'm afraid the prince won't be able to visit you tonight, sister. As expected, when evening came, the maid Schwer had just come to report, My lady, the prince has arrived at the front courtyard. Over there, Lao Fei-yao rushed out to block Xiaolin's steps out the courtyard, crying, Your Highness, our mistress has fainted from a sudden heart condition. Please go and see her. I draped my outer garment over myself and walked slowly toward the door, silently locking eyes with Xiaolin, who had just reached the entrance. The lamplight cast a shadow across his high, prominent nose bridge. His brows and eyes were hidden in the darkness, his expression indiscernible. Only his thin lips could be seen pressed tightly into a cold, indifferent arc. I heard him say coldly to Lao Fei-yao, If she has fallen ill, call for a physician. This prince doesn't know how to treat illness. In the past, Su Yingyu was the white moonlight of his heart, someone he had huddled with for warmth in childhood. When she feigned illness to seek him out, he would always abandon me and rush to her side. Now his white moonlight had become the deceased. Su Yingyu became the person who could be cast aside. This man, how utterly heartless. One day, I'll personally tear off his hypocritical mask and see whether he even has a heart or not. Xiaolin dismissed Lao Fei-yao with a single sentence and slowly stepped forward. His gaze fell on my face again, seemingly filled with nostalgia. I vaguely recalled that when he and I pledged our love, it was exactly at the age this body of Hua Sen is now. Mother had arranged for me to meet many sons of noble families in the capital, but I couldn't take interest in a single one. I told my mother I didn't want an arranged marriage. I wanted to marry a husband who loved me mutually and had eyes only for me. That same year, I freed Xiaolin, who had been a servant in my household, canceling his slave status and restoring his freedom, and recommended him to join the army under my father's command. He was tall and strong with exceptional skills, and before long he earned merit on the battlefield and received reward money. Back then, he clearly wore clothes full of holes and patches, renting a dilapidated, drafty little courtyard. Yet when he got the money, instead of buying anything for himself, he spent it all on a jade hairpin. After buying the gift, he didn't even dare present it to me directly, but secretly left it at the base of the wall outside my courtyard when visiting my home. Thinking about it now, those times were truly young and innocent. I was born into silk and luxury, lavished with my family's love, and had received a whole storehouse of precious gifts. Yet in the end, I was fooled out of my true heart by the most ordinary jade hairpin. After marrying Xiaolin, we were quite loving for a few years. Just when I thought I would live happily like this for the rest of my life, Su Yingyu appeared. Only then did I realize that Xiaolin had a white moonlight in his heart all along. After my family learned of Su Yingyu's existence, they couldn't bear to see me suffer such grievance and wanted me to divorce and return home. But I refused to give up, always deceiving myself with the matter of our youthful pledge, firmly believing that Xiaolin loved me. As my thoughts returned, Xiaolin had already walked up to me. I suppressed the tumultuous emotions in my heart, put on a shy and timid expression on my face, and curtsied as I said, Welcome, Your Highness. Xiaolin nodded and walked past me into the room. I followed behind him, all the way into the bedroom. Just as I was about to reach out to help him remove his outer robe, he turned around and fiercely grabbed my chin. Those eyes were as cold as ice picks piercing my face. Speak, who sent you? How dare you use her face? His eyes revealed ruthlessness. I was forced by this unexpected, oppressive pressure until tears flowed from my eyes, and I gritted my teeth and spat out a name. The Luoling County Magistrate, Wang Zhengqing. Luoling was the place where I fell off the cliff 5 years ago. It was also the birthplace of Hua Sen. That Luoling County Magistrate was originally a capital official, but later got implicated when something happened to his family and was thus demoted to Luoling. When I was still the young lady of the Lin family, I had met that county magistrate a few times, and he recognized my face. So I deliberately broke free from their grip when Hua Sen's brother and sister-in-law were about to give me to a powerful official as a concubine, and ran to the government office to report them. I don't know if it is because my soul possessed this body. After a few years passed, my appearance grew more and more like my former self, except for a pair of eyes. Hua Sen's eyes are round and childish, unlike my former eyes that were long at the corners and upturned peach blossom eyes. The county magistrate's gaze froze the moment he saw me. Then he laughed 3 times on the spot. My hope for being transferred back to the capital has arrived. The county magistrate really took me for a helpless little girl being manipulated by her brother and sister-in-law and subjected me to threats and temptations. I pretended to be persuaded and agreed to let him send me up the ranks as a tribute gift until I was sent into the prince's manor. Shaolin loosened the force on his fingertips, and I retreated repeatedly, gasping for air. He reached out to carefully feel and trace my face until he confirmed that this face truly grew on me naturally, then let go and allowed me to collapse sitting on the ground. Without his close-range oppression, I finally couldn't help but cough. Shaolin watched my pathetic state with cold eyes and continued to ask me, "You're afraid of butterflies?" "I've been afraid of butterflies since childhood. When I was an unmarried maiden, my family only planted grass and trees, not flowers." Later, after marrying Shaolin, his manner was the same way. However, in the 5 years since I passed away, quite a few flowers have been added to his manor. "It must be Su Yingyu's doing." I hummed in acknowledgement and said in a low voice, "Although butterflies have beautiful appearances, they look frightening up close. This commoner girl has been afraid of them since childhood." These words probably stirred up Shaolin's memories of being with me in the past. That slightly dazed expression returned to his face. He glanced at me, didn't ask anything else, and commanded coldly, "Go redo your makeup after crying. Your face doesn't look much like her anymore." Everyone pay attention to the details here. Does Shaolin really love the female lead? If he truly loved her, why would he fill the manor with flowers she feared most after she was gone to cater to Su Yingyu? And now he is forcing the substitute to paint elongated eyetails to impersonate his deceased wife. This is Dancine textbook self-indulgent, chasing wife to the crematorium behavior. He doesn't love Lin Xingwan as a person at all, but rather the devoted white moonlight filter he projected onto her. Our female lead is pretending to be a weak herb-gathering girl at this moment, but her mind is sharp as if she has got cheats enabled. Not only did she counter the Luoling County Magistrate's scheme, but she also used the afraid of butterflies setting to perfectly handle the scumbag's test. A smart and capable female lead is just Fei Chef's kiss. I obeyed. I redid my makeup to match my former appearance. Shaolin had me stand before him, gazing at me for a long while, but in the end didn't stay the night. Touching the red, swollen, painful spot on my chin where I'd been grabbed, I felt relieved for now. At least my identity as someone from a respectable family hadn't been doubted. I had to imitate my former self to make Shaolin lower his guard and get close to me, while also being careful that he wouldn't truly see through me and realize I was the Lin Xingwan from before. I crawled out from rock bottom, and this trip was about risking everything to seek justice from him. I couldn't let him see through my identity and use my family still in the capital to threaten me. Thinking of my family, my heart felt slightly bitter. Let them think I completely ceased to exist 5 years ago. If I could come out of this struggle with Shaolin unscathed, I'd go reunite with them then. Losing and regaining only to lose again would double their pain. I suppressed the urge to secretly go see my family. But one afternoon, Shaolin ordered people to dress me up and take me to the Lin Manor for a banquet. The maid conveyed Shaolin's orders while changing my clothes. "The prince wants you to forget the identity of Hua Sen and properly play the role of the former princess consort today." My mind was full of doubts, not knowing what Shaolin was up to with this move. The carriage swayed and jolted toward the Lin Manor. Shaolin sat across from me with a cold expression. I looked up at him several times, wanting to ask but not daring to. After a while, Shaolin grew impatient with my staring, glanced at me and said, "Just do as I say. Things that aren't for you to probe into, don't think about them, and don't ask." I pressed my lips together and lowered my head. The hands hidden in my sleeves couldn't help but tremble. After all, it was the timidity of nearing home. After a long silence, we arrived at the Lin Manor. I followed Shaolin off the carriage and immediately saw the person greeting guests at the door. It was my second brother and second sister-in-law. Second brother was holding a tiny swaddled baby in his arms. Listening to the well wishes from people around, I realized it was my newborn nephew. Second brother, who had been full of joy, changed his expression upon seeing Shaolin, his face filled with rejection. "What business does the regent have gracing us with his presence?" Shaolin stepped forward. "I've come to congratulate second brother on the joy of his new addition." Second brother frowned and said, "Don't call me second brother, ever since my sister is gone because of you. Our family has nothing to do with you anymore." Shaolin pulled me out from behind him to the front. "Wanwan has come back. I brought her to see mother-in-law. Are you going to stop this too?" Second brother and second sister-in-law both looked at me. Then their expressions changed simultaneously. Second sister-in-law couldn't help but rush 2 steps toward me. "Little sister." Second brother pulled second sister-in-law back, blocking her path. His eyes, burning with fury, glared at me, but his words were directed at Shaolin. "When she was alive, you didn't treasure her. And now that she is gone, you keep a fake by your side. Did you have someone craft this face, Shaolin? You're still as hypocritical and despicable as ever?" Facing second brother's rebuke, Shaolin seemed accustomed to it. His expression unmoved, he only said, "Mother-in-law's condition has worsened recently. I brought someone back for her to see. Perhaps it will make her feel a little better." These words made my heart suddenly sink. "My mother is sick." Second brother was about to refuse again, but second sister-in-law stopped him with tears in her eyes. "Husband, why not let mother see her? At least let's try to see if we can coax her into eating a meal." Their conversation made my heart both anxious and aching. "What illness does my mother have that she can't even eat?" Second brother, persuaded by second sister-in-law, ultimately gave in. Shaolin brought me along, following the maid all the way to the inner courtyard. During this, Shaolin reminded me again, "Forget your original identity. Remember, today, you are Lin Xingwan. The person who sent you into the prince's manor must have taught you how to play the role of my princess consort. If you mess things up today, this prince will not keep you." His words carried a strong sense of warning. Not keeping me meant he wouldn't let me continue to have an easy time. I pretended to be frightened and nodded repeatedly. "This consort obeys your command." "Wrong," Shaolin said. "The princess consort and I have always addressed each other as you and I." I corrected myself. "I understand." During our conversation, a woman with a haggard face walked out from inside. It was my eldest sister-in-law. Seeing Shaolin, her expression immediately turned cold, just like second brother's Shui Huan. "Who told you to bring him here?" The maid Shui Huan, being questioned, bowed and apologized. "First, madam, it was the second master who had me bring her here. He and the second madam are entertaining guests in the front courtyard. He only said to have you bring this young lady to show the old madam." Hearing this, sister-in-law's cold gaze swept toward me. After seeing my face clearly, she froze for a moment. The courtyard fell silent for a while. After quite some time, sister-in-law finally let out a sigh. "Forget it. At least it'll give mother something to hold on to." After saying this, she turned around and opened the courtyard gate, saying to me, "Come in." As I followed sister-in-law through the gate, I turned my head to glance at Shaolin, who stood motionless outside. Sister-in-law noticed my gaze and let out a cold laugh. "What? Does the Prince Regent also want to enter the inner quarters where women reside?" Shaolin shook his head. "I'll wait right here." The courtyard gate closed in front of me. Once Shaolin's gaze was blocked off, I no longer deliberately concealed the anxiety in my heart and stepped forward to push open my mother's door. A pair of hands pressed down on me from behind, and sister-in-law's questioning voice immediately rang out, "What is the rush? Did that Shaolin come up with some scheme to have you upset my mother?" I shook my head, putting on a fearful and frightened expression. "The prince only told me to pretend to be the late princess consort to see the old madam. If I fail today, I'll be in deep trouble." Hearing this, sister-in-law scolded in a low voice, "That cold-blooded, heartless maniac." Then she examined me carefully. "You do somewhat resemble little Xing Xing when she was a young girl." Sister-in-law released me and pushed open the door. A strong smell of medicine hit me in the face. It was as if someone who'd been sick for years lived inside. I walked closer step by step and saw clearly the haggard face of the person on the bed. My mother, who had always been gentle and beautiful for as long as I could remember. How did she become this way with a head full of white hair and wrinkles all over? When my father died from serious illness, she had never looked as desperate as she did today. Sister-in-law gently woke her up. "Mother, little Xing Xing is back. Won't you open your eyes and look at her?" The person on the bed heard my name, opened her eyes, murmuring, "Xing Xing, my Xing Xing." I held back my tears and rushed to the bedside. "Mother, I'm here! The moment my mother saw my face clearly, tears as big as beans just fell straight down. She struggled to reach her hand toward me. I threw myself into her arms, letting her trembling hands stroke my head over and over again. I knew my little Xingxing was still here. They all said you were gone, but mother never believed it even once. You've clearly been by my side day and night talking to me. She seemed somewhat mentally unclear, repeating my name over and over, saying the same things to me. My throat choked up. I almost wanted to cry out loud. Sister-in-law, how did mother become like this? Sister-in-law let out a sigh. Ever since the news came 5 years ago that little sister fell off the cliff, mother was so shocked her mind became confused, and she has been holding little sister's childhood doll and talking to herself all day long. The maid brought over a bowl of nourishing porridge at this moment, and sister-in-law handed the bowl to me. Mother hasn't had any food or water for 3 days now. She responds to you, so I must trouble you, miss, to help me feed her some. My mother smelled the food and immediately bent over to dry heave a few times. I won't eat! She reached out her hand to push it away. Xingxing is waiting for me. If I don't eat, I can go see her. Just moments ago she was holding me and calling me Xingxing, and now she has recognized that I'm not her real daughter. I lowered my head to hide my feelings, unable to hold back a tear that quietly fell into the bowl in my hands. I really wanted to throw myself into my mother's arms and cry, telling her I've come back and I'll stay with her forever from now on. But I can't. Right now my heart is filled with determination to get justice. Shaolin and Su Yingyu owe everything to me and my child. I won't rest until I settle this grudge, and judging by how Shaolin erected statues of me everywhere to pray for my blessing after I died. If he knew I was Lin Xingwan, he wouldn't let me go home. That man is cold-hearted yet obsessive. Whatever he sets his sights on, he must grip tightly in his hands. Only when he has paid the price can I safely return home. What should I do then? I suppressed my tearful voice, yet deliberately said pitifully to my mother, I came here today under coercion. If I can't successfully persuade you to eat, that person will make sure I have no peace. My mother is kind-hearted and soft. Hearing me say this, she immediately stopped pushing away and actively reached out to hold the bowl with both hands. Good child. Don't be afraid, I'll eat. I'll eat. I attended to my mother as she finished a bowl of rice, watched her fall asleep drowsily, then followed eldest sister-in-law out. Shaolin was still waiting outside the door. I vaguely felt his gaze linger on the corners of my eyes for a moment. Then, as if he'd become a different person, he changed from his usual cold demeanor and showed me a warm smile. Eldest sister-in-law looked at me, then at him, and spoke. This girl has caught my mother's fancy. Regent Prince, could you bear to part with her and let her stay to personally attend to my mother? Shaolin's lips curved up, his eyes fixed on me. I can't bear to part with her, but I'll bring her back often to visit my mother-in-law. As I followed Shaolin out of the Lin residence, an uneasy feeling kept lingering in my heart. It wasn't until we returned to the prince's residence and entered the courtyard where I lived that Shaolin dismissed the servants, turned around, and pulled me into his embrace. The cold fragrance on his body made me shiver. The next moment, his excited and joyful voice fell upon my ear. Wanwan, you've come back. Not a question, only certainty. I felt my head buzzing, my heart crying out silently in shock. He figured it out. This kind of inconceivable thing, if I hadn't experienced it myself, I wouldn't dare believe it. Today, facing my mother, I had also restrained my emotions to the utmost. How could he recognize me? Before I could even think of how to react, Shaolin's kiss had already landed on the side of my face. He seemed to see through my question and answered on his own. My heart recognized you before my eyes did. He pulled my hand and pressed it against his heart, then continued. From the first moment I saw you, it has been trembling, beating, repeatedly tugging at me. Wanwan, in this lifetime of mine, my heart has only raced like this for you. A chill spread through my entire body. When I spoke, my voice was hoarse, yet I still stubbornly denied it. Your Highness, you've mistaken me for someone else. Shaolin curved his lips into a faint smile, his eyes gazing at me intensely. There is a small path paved with broken stones at the Lin residence. You always had the habit of grinding the edge with your foot as you walked. Outside mother-in-law's courtyard gate, there is a dent that you would always touch with your hand when entering. And also, he recounted one by one the little habits I'd developed in my boudoir, habits even I myself hadn't been aware of. Finally, Shaolin let out a sigh. Before I lost you, I never even realized my own feelings. Long before I was aware of it, my eyes were already watching you. During these years without you, thinking of you day after day, I discovered that every little detail about you was so clear, as if it had long been carved into my mind. He held me and poured out his longing for me during these years of losing me. Then cupped my face and said to me, "I don't like the way you're looking at me right now, Wanwan. Since you've come back to my side, you should love me like you did before." He was clearly begging for my love, yet his tone wasn't the least bit humble or ingratiating. When I read storybooks in my youth, the men in them who had painfully lost their love and then regained it were all earnestly attentive, accommodating their beloved in every way. Reality is nothing like that. Shaolin now holds a position of high power, and my greatest weakness, the safety of my family, is all in his hands. He demands that I love him like I did before. Then even if I have to fake it, I'll put on an appearance of being full of love. It was only after going through rock bottom that I realized Shaolin's past kindness and love for me actually had ulterior motives. He was originally a destitute man wandering the streets with Steward Lee. I bestowed kindness on him, and he was taken in by the Lin household as a servant. Later, through my intervention, his slave registration was cancelled. I introduced him into my father's army, and then by marrying me he gained leverage over the military power in my father's hands. Finally, with the identity of the late Crown Prince's orphaned heir, he led people to seize control of the situation. Those times I thought we were experiencing first love together were, to him, nothing more than a period of lying low, a calculated exploitation. That is why he could let Su Yingyu provoke me. For the sake of some childhood bond, time and again he abandoned me and berated me for Su Yingyu's sake. But now he tells me he actually fell in love with me long ago. Chilling to the bone. The height of shamelessness. Friends, did you see that scumbag's heartfelt confession? Don't be moved by it. What does he mean by, "I don't like the look in your eyes now. You should love me like before"? This is clearly a power tripper's desire for control. He doesn't love the female lead as a person, but that perfect accessory who wholeheartedly clings to him and adores him. He is using her family's safety to coerce her love. This isn't deep affection, it is the upgraded version of robbing and plundering, called mental manipulation. Our female lead's fake obedience here is absolutely chef's kiss. A true hunter lurks beside their prey, just like this, looking forward to what happens next in the plot. Shaolin had someone pack up my things and move them into the main courtyard. He and I became husband and wife again like before. I originally thought that now my identity had been exposed. I didn't need to pretend to be strangers with the Lin family and cut ties. But Shaolin refused my request to return to the Lin family. He looked at me, his eyes filled with a pathological obsession. The Lin Xingwen of the past no longer exists. You are now my Wanwan alone, my wife alone. You don't need family. You only need to stay by my side, with only me in your heart. I glared at him. My mother's health is so poor now. You want me to turn a blind eye? Shaolin smiled carelessly, yet seemed to see through the thoughts I had hidden away. But wasn't that what you originally planned? To pretend to be strangers with the Lin family, Wanwan? You'd better listen to me. Otherwise, I don't mind making you a truly helpless orphan girl. He threatened me with my family's safety. My heart constricted, and I finally suppressed all my emotions, putting on a meek appearance and responding softly in agreement. Shaolin was satisfied, and even reached out to pat my head as if giving a reward, like treating a bird that cannot resist and can only submit. In the days that followed, Shaolin handled government affairs during the day and came back to keep me company at night. He said, "Wanwan, let's have a child. In the years you were gone, I thought countless times that it would be good if we had a child. At least we'd have a living bond in this world." My mind was clear, and I almost immediately realized Shaolin didn't know I had been pregnant 5 years ago. Without even thinking, I knew it was Su Yingyu who had concealed from him the fact that I was already pregnant when I fell off the cliff. At that time, he had just taken control of the situation. His foundation was unstable, and he was so busy that he'd stay away for half a month at a time without coming home. When I found out about my pregnancy, Shaolin didn't know. But Su Yingyu got the news, and even mocked me to my face, saying I was delusional to try to use a child to hold onto a man's heart, how pathetically overestimating myself. I held onto Xiaolin's arm, responding softly, "Sure, I've always wanted to have something to look forward to that belongs to us. A boy like you, a girl like me." Xiaolin's gaze softened. "It would be best if we have a boy first. I can give him the most noble position in all the world." He held power in his hands, yet disdained to sit in that highest position, instead taking pleasure in suppressing the new emperor. He was venting his resentment towards the past through this behavior. Because of the old grudges back then, he had been left to wander among the common people and suffered bitterly. Xiaolin came home to keep me company every day. 2 months later, I found out I was pregnant. When the imperial physician left, it was the first time Xiaolin was so happy that even his eyes curved with laughter. The look he gave me was as gentle as water, his large palm carefully and preciously pressed against my abdomen. "Wanwan, I'm not dreaming. We really have a child." I reached out and pressed his hand, softly asking him, "Are you happy? There will soon be someone in this world who shares your bloodline, your closest kin." Xiaolin, who had gone through hardships in his youth, lacked love and also craved familial affection. Sure enough, hearing me say this, the expression on Xiaolin's face became even more moved. During my pregnancy, I felt unwell, and my whims came one after another. I often impulsively asked Xiaolin for out-of-season fruits and foods, or treasures I had only seen in books. Each time I would rub my belly and say, "It is not me who wants it, it is the baby borrowing my mouth to ask Daddy for gifts." Xiaolin would laugh when he heard this, and let me order him around in circles. The more he participated in my pregnancy process, the deeper his feelings of anticipation grew. After more than 4 months, my figure had changed. Xiaolin heard from somewhere that one could communicate in advance. He found many educational books that children from noble families would read, and sat beside me every day reading softly. He was looking forward to all of this more and more. It was also time for me to proceed to the next step. In early autumn, I had someone remove and relocate all the flowers and plants in the prince's manor. When Xiaolin returned to the manor and saw this, he said nothing. I still offered an explanation. "The smell of those flowers and plants makes me feel sick and want to throw up. I'm also afraid that so many flowers next spring will attract butterflies. You know I'm scared of butterflies." Xiaolin chuckled softly and lightly touched my forehead. "I know you're bothered by Xiao Yu. You're the only mistress of the prince's manor. You can do whatever you want without worrying about anyone, including me." He indulged me in doing anything, but Su Yingyu, who had been quietly holed up in the side courtyard, couldn't sit still anymore. She cornered me at the pavilion on the lake when I was taking my afternoon walk to digest my meal. "You, someone who was sent through the door, really think you're the mistress of the prince's manor now?" Her eyes were rimmed with red, besides resentment. There was also some grievance and unwillingness. During this period, Xiaolin, fearing I'd get angry seeing her, had kept her confined to the separate courtyard, not allowing her to move around freely. I stroked my belly with a smug smile. The prince said that once I bear him an heir, he'll give me a proper wedding and make me his principal consort. The bloodshot in Su Yingyu's eyes grew heavier. She glared at me with jealousy-filled eyes, and finally couldn't help but step forward, pulling out a sharp hairpin from her sleeve, about to lunge at me. "Let's see if you can still seduce the prince to favor you after I ruin that face of yours." The maid beside her reacted quickly, pushing forward when Su Yingyu lunged over. Su Yingyu lost her footing and fell to the side, about to tumble to the ground. In the chaos, I pretended to be startled and unsteady on my feet, lunging forward and grabbing onto Su Yingyu's clothes, as we both fell into the lake together. Due to the shock of falling into the water, I fell into unconsciousness before being rescued. When I woke up, it was already dusk, with imperial physicians gathered in a circle around my bed, each face filled with panic. Behind them stood Xiaolin with an extremely grim expression. I felt relieved inside. It seemed that illusory bargaining chip was now gone. Seeing me open my eyes, Xiaolin restrained the coldness on his face, dismissed the physicians, sat down by the bed, and brushed the hair from my cheek. I put on a flustered and anxious look, tears falling before I even spoke. "Alin, I can't feel the fluttering anymore." "Is our child all ready?" Xiaolin spoke, his tone heavy with grief. This bond, we couldn't hold on to it. We'll have more in the future. My tears flowed even more fiercely. What do you mean couldn't hold on to it? It was Su Yingyu who destroyed everything. You must punish her to get justice. Xiaolin was silent for a moment, then said, Xiaoyu says she didn't mean it. Falling into the water was an accident. After she woke from choking on water and losing consciousness, she went to the ancestral hall on her own to kneel and pray for blessings. Hearing him say he wasn't going to hold Su Yingyu accountable, I was so furious that despite my weakened state, I slapped him. What do you mean it wasn't intentional, Xiaolin? This is the second hope that Su Yingyu has destroyed. Xiaolin's expression changed. What? As expected, he didn't know I was pregnant 5 years ago. I glared at him with tears streaming down and coldness in my eyes. 5 years ago, Su Yingyu deliberately had someone kidnap both of us to force you to choose between us. You chose her, and when I fell off the cliff, I was already 2 months pregnant. It is because of your repeated favoritism that I've lost again and again. I hate you. Xiaolin's eyes shook, as if he couldn't process what I had just said. He murmured, Weren't those thugs back then arranged by you yourself to get my attention? I was angry at the time that you would do such an absurd thing to compete with Xiaoyu, so I deliberately chose Xiaoyu to give you the cold shoulder. Who knew those people would be so bold as to actually let something happen to you? I couldn't help but laugh mockingly. You say you love me, but you never believe me. You believe whatever Su Yingyu says? She once made me go through hell, and now she has destroyed our second hope. Yet you still side with her. Xiaolin, your feelings are truly cold and shallow. A trace of panic flashed through Xiaolin's eyes. Wanwan, don't talk like that and hurt me. Give me 2 days, and I'll personally investigate what happened when you were schemed against back then. If it really was Su Yingyu's doing, I'll make her pay the price. Xiaolin now held great power, and within 2 days, he indeed found the informant that Su Yingyu had secretly contacted back then, piecing together step by step the truth of how I was harmed. That night, he held Su Yingyu's evidence of guilt and looked at it under the lamp for a long time, until his eyes turned red. For the first time, he showed me deep remorse. Wanwan, it was I who let the wolf into the house and harmed you. I will get justice for you. Su Yingyu was detained on Xiaolin's orders. She was severely punished. When Xiaolin brought me to see her, I saw Su Yingyu looking disheveled and wretched. Seeing me, she looked at Xiaolin with fierce eyes and questioned, Alin, you would hurt me to this extent for this substitute? Have you forgotten the bond we shared studying together, under my father's tutelage? Forgotten that my family suffered complete ruin for supporting your father? Forgotten that I passed messages to help you succeed? You promised you would take good care of me for the rest of my life on behalf of my father. Xiaolin looked at Su Yingyu coldly. If you had been well-behaved and obedient, I wouldn't have minded taking care of you for my teacher. But you should never have laid hands on my wife and child. Your fate today is because you harmed this prince's consort and twice destroyed this prince's hopes. As soon as he said this, Su Yingyu's face turned pale, and she said in a panic, How could you? You haven't investigated all these years. Why suddenly, no, I didn't harm Lin Xingwen. She found someone to act for her, and it got out of hand. It has nothing to do with me. It must be the woman by your side framing me. I pushed away Xiaolin's hand that was supporting me and walked toward Su Yingyu. She shook her head looking at me, cursing from her mouth. Get away, you substitute of unknown origin, Alin. Look at me. How can you not believe me but believe this woman? I looked at her with icy eyes, my voice gentle yet carrying a blade-like chill. The wrongs you've committed, you must bear yourself. Afterwards she was thoroughly dealt with, stripped of everything, never again able to stir up trouble in the prince's manor. I turned my head, looked at Xiaolin, lifted my face and said, Now, all grievances are settled. Xiaolin's expression changed several times, and he reached out to pull my hand into his embrace. Whatever you want to do with her, just give the word. Why trouble yourself with these matters? It is not worth it. Su Yingyu had not yet been completely taken away. Hearing this sentence, she was unable to voice any rebuttal and could only stare straight at Xiaolin in despair. Xiaolin had people handle her properly and covered my eyes. My Wanwan has a tender heart. These dirty, messy matters, let me handle them instead. He still treated me as the naive and innocent Lin family, young lady raised in the inner chambers from before. I obediently leaned into his embrace. Thank you for getting justice for me. I lowered my eyelashes, hiding the cold glint in my eyes. Su Yingyu had already paid the price. Next, it was his turn, Shaolin, to pay for all his past deeds. A severe drought had struck the south. Under the arrangement of the Imperial Astronomical Bureau, Shaolin needed to lead the officials to set up an altar at a Taoist temple in the city outskirts, for 7 consecutive days to pray for rain. Originally, this was the emperor's duty, but the young emperor currently on the throne was a puppet he had installed. As regent, he exercised all imperial authority. On the day Shaolin departed to pray for blessings, he reluctantly bid me farewell. Wanwan, in a while I'll seize that position and make you the most noble woman. How about it? I'm willing to share this boundless power with you. I smiled and replied, sure. I knew Shaolin had spies secretly following me. During the days he was away, I lived normally in the manor as usual. On the day he was to return home, I took the servants out, planning to personally purchase some ingredients he loved to eat and prepare a welcoming feast for him. Once on the street, I pretended to be attracted by the clothes in a garment shop and entered the inner room to try on clothes. In such a private place, the spies didn't dare follow, nor would anyone discover that someone had already been waiting in this inner room. That person turned around, a vermilion mole on his forehead, vivid and bright. This was the young emperor that Shaolin had installed. The cinnabar mark on his forehead is Shaolin's mark of control over him. It was Shaolin who selected him from the royal family's collateral branches, and had someone painted on him, then claimed that the red mark signified nobility and that he was a heaven-chosen person, pushing him into a high position. Seeing me, the young emperor smiled slightly. Did you find the item? I reached out and pulled a tiger tally from my waist. The emperor's eyes brightened slightly as he reached out to take it. I dodged backward. If you want to beat Shaolin, this little bargaining chip alone won't be enough. The emperor wasn't angered by my questioning. He pondered for a moment and said, the senior officials left behind by the late emperor secretly pledged their loyalty to me. Right now, the Right Chancellor and the general who stabilizes the nation in court are both my people, and I have several uncles secretly supporting me. With this tiger tally, Shaolin will have no chance of recovery. Shaolin is not a merciful ruler. As the orphan of the former crown prince, he witnessed with his own eyes how his parents died after being framed by officials under the instigation of the late supreme emperor. He himself, though a noble imperial grandson, ended up wandering among the common people, forced to pretend to be a pitiful orphan in order to survive. Because of this, he hates the royal family and court officials. Since coming to power, he has suppressed officials and nobles in many ways. To consolidate their own positions, those people naturally follow the emperor to seek self-preservation. Long before I entered the Prince Regent's manor, the emperor had already secretly approached me asking me to work for him. I rejected all the power and wealth he promised. I only had one request, to personally witness Shaolin's end. After the emperor took the tiger tally and checked its authenticity, he looked at me with appreciation. I didn't expect you to be truly capable. Shaolin hid this tiger tally very deep. Not one of the spies I sent to his manor was able to find where it was hidden. I pulled at the corners of my mouth. Shaolin loved to dig holes under rockeries to hide things, a habit he'd kept from his time at the Lin residence. Back then, I would always dig up all sorts of rare and interesting trinkets from under the rockery. Only later did I learn they were things he'd bought, but was too embarrassed to give me directly, so he hid them on purpose. This tiger tally was also something I dug out from under the rockery at the Regent Prince's manor. I've done all I can. Allow me to wish your majesty victory in tonight's first battle. After saying this, I turned and left. That night, I lay in bed early but couldn't sleep. Until the moon reached its zenith, Shaolin still hadn't returned. A troop of soldiers came from the direction of the imperial city, forcibly broke through the gates of the Regent Prince's manor, and took control of everyone inside. Steward Li kept struggling, demanding to know where his prince was. The leading officer said coldly, Shaolin harbored treasonous intentions and has already been captured by the general, who pacifies the nation with his troops. You lot had better obediently come with me for questioning. I was taken out with everyone else and placed in a small sedan chair that had come to fetch me. As the sedan swayed back and forth, my heart rose and fell. I didn't expect it to be this easy. I thought there'd be at least some twists and turns tonight. I'd even planned that if the Emperor failed, and Shaolin made it back alive to the Regent's manor, I'd need to find a way to escape before he figured out that I was the one who handed over the tiger tally. Lost in chaotic thoughts, I arrived at the palace's side hall. The young Emperor's cinnabar mark on his forehead had already been washed away, and his handsome, refined face was full of high spirits. From tonight onward, he would be the rightful master, and no one would ever be able to constrain him again. I followed him inside, and saw Shaolin in a complete mess, utterly restrained in place, like a spent arrow. He hung his head, and hearing someone enter the room, said without looking up, "The victor becomes king, the defeated becomes bandit. Do as you please. But the women in my household are innocent. They were all sent by people below to curry favor with me. I wonder if your Majesty could spare them?" Having said this, he looked up and met my face. He froze for a moment. Then, as if suddenly understanding something, struggled frantically trying to get closer to me. "Wanwan, it is you." I walked toward him step by step, my eyes calm and cold. "It is me." Shaolin's gaze was filled with anguish. "You joined forces with them. In the end, you still hate me." I looked at him coldly. "Shouldn't I hate you? You deceived me, lied to me, even made me fall off a cliff. Every day and night after my rebirth, I've been thinking about the day I could make you experience what it is like to lose everything." He collapsed to the ground, staring at me like this, his eyes full of disbelief. I only felt a burst of satisfaction in my heart. "Look at yourself now. You schemed against everyone, yet in the end you're left abandoned by all." Shaolin was in extreme pain, his eyes turning red. "You don't love me anymore. How can you treat me like this? Everything before was a misunderstanding. I dealt with Su Yingyu for you, so why do you still hate me so much?" I let out a light sneer. "Do I need to remind you? The Lin Xingwan who loved you has completely disappeared. Someone like you who is heartless, disloyal, and manipulative doesn't deserve anyone's true heart. I find it laughable that I ever felt pity for you." I didn't want to discuss anything from the past with him anymore, and turned to walk aside. The Emperor coldly ordered that Shaolin be completely stripped of his title, demoted to commoner status and confined, depriving him of all dignity and power. His hypocritical mask was completely torn apart, and all his schemes ultimately backfired on himself. I didn't look back at him again. All grievances came to an end at this moment. The Emperor had been by my side these past few days, and when I was about to say goodbye, he said to me softly, "I originally wanted to deal with Shaolin personally, but seeing him fall apart before you, losing everything with such unwillingness, it is even more satisfying than if I had given the order myself." "Are you really that Lin Xingwan?" I nodded. "I never planned to hide it from the Emperor from the start. Otherwise, there'd be no way to explain my insight into Shaolin," I said. "Once matters here are settled, I'll return home and take my Lin family clansmen away from the capital. I wish your Majesty a stable reign from here on." The Emperor's gaze fell on my face as he chuckled softly. "I'm afraid your clansmen won't follow you. For me to succeed tonight, I also had the full support of your eldest and second brothers. They led the Lin family's former subordinates to help me control the situation. I've already promised to reorganize the Lin family army for them, to ennoble your eldest brother as the Marquis of Zhenbei, and have him take over old General Lin's post guarding the north." Eldest brother, second brother. While I was enduring humiliation and dealing with Shaolin alone at the Prince Regent's manor, they were also secretly working hard to seek justice for me. Holding back the tears welling up in my eyes, I couldn't wait to bid farewell to the Emperor and return home. Because I was personally escorted to the Lin family's main gate by someone close to the Emperor. After the gatekeeper welcomed me in, he led me directly to the main hall. Before long, eldest brother, second brother, eldest sister-in-law, second sister-in-law, and my mother all came out. Seeing them, I threw myself into my mother's arms like a weary bird returning to the forest. "Mother, I'm Xingwan. I've come home." My mother, shedding tears, embraced me, murmuring, "I truly didn't mistake you. Last time when Shaolin brought you here, I recognized at a glance that you were my daughter. It is good, you're back. It is so good, you're back." Eldest sister-in-law wiped her tears beside us. After I saw you that one time, Mother's mind became clear. Your eldest brother was stationed with troops in the north, but she called him back to the capital with a single letter just to secretly protect you. Second brother and second sister-in-law looked at me, then at Mother, both with faces full of relief and excitement. I wiped away my tears and calmed myself to explain my experiences to them. Second sister-in-law listened with surging anger. That hypocrite Shaolin saying he cares with his mouth, yet using us to threaten you, truly disgusting. Second brother turned to look at eldest brother. You suddenly told me you wanted to cooperate with the emperor to get justice for little Star, so it was because of this. You were far away in the northern garrison, yet just from reading Mother's letter you believed little sister was still alive, while I clearly met her face to face but didn't recognize her. No wonder Father always praised your strategic planning when he was alive, and said my thinking was dull. His self-deprecating words lightened everyone's heavy mood, and they couldn't help but laugh. Eldest brother's profound gaze fell on me. He reached out to pat the top of my head, and said warmly, "It is good that you're back. From now on, you can be the Lin family's daughter with peace of mind. Big brother will protect you." My heart was filled with tenderness. All those past grievances and pain were completely released in that moment. My enemies had received their retribution, my family's love surrounded me. I could finally walk out from the shadows of the past and welcome my new life. After reading the last word, I really let out a long sigh of relief. Reading this story made me feel thoroughly refreshed. The sense of satisfaction maxed out. But after that thrill, as your old friend Faye, I actually have a lot of insights I want to discuss deeply with everyone. On the surface, this story is a high-energy rebirth revenge satisfaction story, but its core is actually an extremely clear asterisk. Asterisk's female anti-internal friction and anti-control guide asterisk asterisk. In the first half of the story, seeing the former Lin Xingwan, who was spirited, and from a prominent family, lowering her pride for a man like Shaolin, who approached her with ulterior motives, and even constantly falling into pain and self-doubt because of the provocations of the outsider Su Yingyu. I really empathized hard with that. To be honest, when I first started college, I also had a similar period of humbleness in a relationship. Back then, I met a seemingly glamorous senior who always treated me with belittling words. He always said I wasn't sensible enough, not considerate enough, and even compared me to other girls. At that time, just like Lin Xingwan once was, I didn't think about how terrible he was, but instead constantly internally consumed myself, trying to change myself to cater to him, to prove I am worthy of being loved. It wasn't until later that I was jolted awake as if drenched by a bucket of cold water. When a relationship keeps making you fall into self-doubt and requires you to constantly compromise to beg for attention, that person is absolutely not worth it. Asterisk Shaolin in the story is simply a microcosm of many high-level pretenders. In reality, have you all noticed? He is actually an extremely selfish person with off-the-charts control issues. When Lin Xingwan was alive, he could abandon her without hesitation for profit, and his childhood filter after Lin Xingwan died. He started searching the world for substitutes, establishing his devoted lover persona. What he loved was never the female lead. What he loved was a subordinate object completely under his control. What he loved was his deeply devoted and faithful self. He even used the safety of her family to coerce the female lead's obedience. Sisters, remember this. True love is freedom and respect. Any threats and control under the guise of love are essentially excessive spiritual consumption. And what makes me applaud the most is the female lead's absolute rationality and clarity after her rebirth. Having experienced one calamity, the female lead wasn't fooled by the scumbags later, so-called devoted confession and tears. She knew too well what she wanted. She wanted those who hurt her to pay the price. Facing her enemies, she wasn't swept up by emotions but advanced step by step. Exploit the opponent's weaknesses, use the Luoling County Magistrate's trap to enter the prince's mansion, going with the flow too. Grasp the opponent's psychology, use the fake pregnancy to suppress Su Yingyu, making the scumbag clean house himself. 3. Strike at the root, hit with precision. Find the tiger tally, ally with the emperor, directly take out all the scumbag's trump cards. In this process, the emotional stability and strategic thinking displayed by the female lead are truly something every one of us girls should learn from. So many times in life when we run into crappy people in crappy situations, it is easy to get overwhelmed by anger and grievance, thinking about how to prove ourselves, how to fight back. But the female lead shows us the highest form of counterattack is never to get entangled chasing after them, but to quietly withdraw your value from them, let them lose everything they relied on, and ultimately reap what they sowed. The ending of the story is my favorite part. The female lead didn't choose to stay in the all-powerful imperial palace, but returned to her loving family. Big Brother's line, "Be the Lin family girl you are with, peace of mind, your brother will protect you," really hit me right in the feels instantly. This isn't just a comeback story, but even more so, a coming-of-age tale of reclaiming yourself and embracing rebirth. Girls, no matter what kind of situation you are in right now, I hope everyone can draw strength from Lin Xingwan. Don't break your own wings for someone who is not worth it. Don't trap yourself with so-called people-pleasing, and don't believe in those false emotions that only paint pretty pictures with words while constantly draining you. This world is vast. So vast that it is not just about the love-hate entanglements within four walls. Your life is precious. So precious that it should only be spent pursuing your own path to stardom. May we all be like Lin Xingwen, who experienced rebirth from the ashes, possessing the keen eye to recognize false sentiments, the confidence to turn around and leave at any time, and even more so, the wisdom and strength to regain control of our own lives. Be the master of your own life, forever clear-headed, forever shining bright. Love you all. See you in the next story.